Kia ora, I'm Erin J. Doyle. Welcome to my channel and day 18 of NaNo. I'm up to, I think, 51,000 and something words. So it has taken me over a week to write the last 1,000 words of my book. And you know what? It's 2020. That's fine. I got out of bed. I succeeded. I have been sick this week. Not terrifying sick, just like hay fever sick. I've got like this horrific sinus headache, and I have put absolutely no thought into this video until I realised that it was due to go up tomorrow. So I might stop fiddling with the thing that is slightly out of frame and tell you what I've been up to. Whilst I've been busy not writing very much, I have been thinking about my story a little bit, and I've had this realisation that there is an avenue in my story which I haven't fully explored because it's not something that I personally find interesting, and I've just kind of been cogitating or thinking about why I don't find it interesting, and seeing I have no idea what else I'm going to talk about in this video, I'll just start going to talk about that. So there's this, not necessarily evil scientist, although sometimes evil, but often a thoughtless or arrogant or similar type scientist figure in fiction. This is a scientist or group of scientists who, in the pursuit of either money or general discovery, destroy the world. And it's a story which I see and get immediately annoyed by, and I have realised that I think there's also, apart from the fact that I personally don't like it because of personal bias, there's probably also a moral reason for me as a biologist to never write that character or that story type. I read recently, can't remember where, something to the effect of a scientist's moral obligation is to address misinformation or ignorance where they find it. But I thought, well, as a scientist who's also a fiction writer, maybe I also have a moral obligation to not write stories which propagate misinformation or distrust in science, given we're living through this very weird, life is all about scientific discoveries and we can't do anything in life without using technology, but also scientists is bad and science is bad and oh my god, stay away from that thing because science, chemicals, kind of time. I don't know if any of that made sense. So yeah, I've been thinking about that because there's this avenue in my story which I could expand on and I could pursue, wherein a scientist is operating in a morally grey area which from the protagonist's perspective is outright evil. And then I thought, you know, in addition to just feeling like been there, done that, maybe it's also morally questionable for me to write that story given my area of expertise. So what this ultimately means is that I have to, I think, remove that element from the story completely and make sure that the antagonistic force is a bit more clearly not the scientific thing. Very hard to have this discussion without spoilers. So yes, that is what I have been discussing, thinking about when my brain has been able to function, which has not been very much or very often. Yeah, so that's most of what I've been thinking about. I've also had a realisation that my whiteboard that I made in this video, useless. My original plan had been to have a box per day. This was partly to help me plan out how I was going to use my time, and I went off plan time-wise super quickly because of underwriting. So I think my first day I had planned to write 4 chapters, and I think I got into chapter 6 or something. I'd have to check the video. I definitely did more than those planned chapters. But the other thing that I had intended to do with this, and the reason why there are boxes, is because whenever I got up to a bit in the story that I knew I needed to work on, like I needed to come back and expand on something, or I needed to research something, anything like that, I put it on a post-it. And then the idea was that the post-it would go on the day. And then when I got to the going back, reviewing, researching side of things, I could see what chapters needed work done, and I could just take the post-it to my computer. I can't see this from my computer, so having it written directly on the whiteboard wasn't necessarily super useful. And I thought, yes, I'll just take the post-it to my computer and do the work there. These don't stay stuck. So after about 3 days, I just had lime green confetti all over the top of the shelf where this was propped up. So this turned out to be a fairly useless tool, bar this little breakdown where I was keeping track of how much I needed to write each hour. But the majority of the whiteboard, pointless. Those are my two thinkings for the entirety of the week. Whiteboard not useful. Maybe pursue Avenue B instead of the more obvious Avenue A because of not wanting to be cliched, but also a moral obligation as a member of the scientific community. And that might actually be it. If I haven't already mentioned this, I'm not feeling well. Even as I record this, I kind of wish I was lying on the floor. That's everything that I've done and thought about this week. Not my most productive, but you know, sinus headache and 2020 in general. Whatever, it's fine. I hope everyone else's week has gone much, much, much better than mine. Maybe you wrote more than 1,000 words. Do let me know. Also, chip in, let me know what you think about the moral obligation of a scientist and the storytelling and the thing. I don't know, maybe you don't care. Maybe this is just me talking to myself at this point. At any rate, if you liked this rambling nonsense video for some reason, do give it a like, it helps out my channel. Hit notifications and subscribe and that kind of thing, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Oh my god, and the other thing that happened this week, which I think has directly affected my general feeling of well-being and my productivity, is that we had a community outbreak of COVID. I'm in New Zealand, so like every case is headline news. But what was interesting was that with this case, it was one individual person, and so they put up on the news a map of the city showing you where this person lives and then every single place they had been for the previous few days, with times that they had gone to each business so that you knew, you know, this day at this time they were at Starbucks for 20 minutes. So you knew if they potentially had come into contact with you and you could get tested, all that kind of thing. But I was looking at it, they announced where this person lives, the fact that they live alone, where they work, and then all the places they had been and where they had bought takeout for the preceding few days. And I was like, oh no. Like, don't get COVID in New Zealand. The entire country will find out that you're like this lonely spinster who eats out every meal. Oh no. And then I was like, oh my god, it actually gets worse. Imagine keeping in mind that New Zealand has legalised prostitution and all businesses have to have QR codes. You could potentially be a guy who's telling his wife he's off to the gym, then get COVID and have the fact that actually you left your house, went to KFC and then your local brothel advertised on national television. So yes, that has also been a bit of a distraction.